Stop using church intimidation, control and manipulation. Jezebel and all them spirits fall back, not trying to hear it. Go with Jesus, walk in peace. On your pew can sit that beast that we're fighting in the world. I'm that JC Supergirl, Jesus Christ, belt of truth, arm of God, I'm slaying you. Power of the word, two-edged sword. MC Heaven rocks for her Lord. Thought they crept in unaware, didn't see the gatekeeper standing right there. Not getting down with your tactics, undoctrinal practice.
Hey, everybody. God bless you. Welcome again to the Crystal Jones Show. It's the show that's all about life's balance. We are thankful for you all coming again and joining us. We have so much to share with you today. Um, today, we're thanking God that we made it another day. Many people celebrate, I believe, in January as the New Year's. However, you all know that according to the Bible, the New Year really starts in March. It starts in the spring because the winter time kind of wouldn't really make sense for it to be a New Year. But that they call it the Gregorian calendar. That's what we go by here, and they go by here in this country. But actually, according to the Hebrew calendar, the year really starts in March, the spring of the year, where things spring forth, which would make more sense. But anyway, we're thankful that we made it to see another day. We're glad that you all have returned back now that we've all been on a little bit of vacation. We've taken days off and things like that. So we're glad that we made it through. Our next celebration that we will celebrate is called Purim. That is the time where Esther had to help deliver our people, the Hebrews. They were again trying to kill us when we were under the Persian rule. So remember, we've been in captivity several times before this, but at that time we were under Persian captivity, and the Lord chose Esther, who was a black queen. She's a Hebrew, and she was raised by her uncle Mordecai, and he taught her the ways of the Lord. And through her knowing the ways of the Lord, she was able to deliver us from they were going to kill our people through Haman. He was one of the Agite people who didn't like Mordecai, and he sought out to kill the Jews. Now, when you get a chance, read that book From Babylon to Timbuktu, and it also lets you know who the Jews originally were and are. We're the Jews, the black people, because we are from the land, the area in Africa. We're from the African continent, the continent of Africa. And how we came about, as I explained many times, is through Abraham, who was turned a Hebrew. He originally started off as a Chaldean, who the Lord turned him from the ways of the Chaldeans to the ways of the Lord. And he made him a Hebrew. He separated him and told him that he would make of him a great nation and kings and priests, and Christ would come through his lineage. So that's how we began. And then remember, there were different fights that we had and revolts that we had. And ultimately, when we had the Jewish and the Roman wars, when we lost the wars because our people started to become like the surrounding nations around them. And that got us to lose our kingdom. And this is how we ended up here in America. So we're looking now, because we're at the last days and the last times, where many things are going to play out in biblical terms. And you could read through your Bible and see it, the different things that Christ even warned of when he was here: nation against nation, kingdom against kingdom, and all of these different things will come to pass. And how we wouldn't, in the prophecies in the Bible, our people didn't even know who we were until years ago. We finally figured it out, that they were lying to us about who we were. So thankfully, now that we got our bearings and we know who we are, okay, we're getting ready now, so that when it's time for us to go back to our home, to our heritage, we have an idea of who we are. We are the Hebrew Israelites. We were created for judgment of the fallen angels and also to bring the people into worship before the Lord. We are the priests that and the kings and kingdoms that the Lord ordained for this earth. Now, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining into the Crystal Jones Show. Please join my YouTube channel. Go and become a member of my channel, the Crystal Jones TV Show on YouTube. When you do that, you will be getting the shows as I broadcast them. So like today, which today is January the 6th. This show will not actually be shown on TV till the end of like January, but you will get the show hours after I've already, done it. Like today, by like the evening time, I'll put it out on YouTube and you'll be able to see it before it comes on every Sunday, channel 68 and 34, Spectrum, I think it is. You'll be able, every Sunday, they put one of my episodes on from 2:30 to 3:30 on BronxNet TV, channel 68 and 34. But what you'll be seeing like this coming Sunday will be something that I broadcasted weeks ago. All right. So that's something that you get is being a part of my channel. You get to see what I'm doing right away. Also follow me on Facebook. You get to see my things there because I post everything to Facebook as well. So you'll be able to see today's episode on YouTube and on Facebook again at the Crystal Jones Show. All right. Also, if you want to, you have things that you want to be shown on my show, advertised, or things like that, let me know. Go to the Crystal Jones Show at gmail.com and I'll be able to share information and things that you're doing on my show as well. Well, today we're going to have a special guest. Her name is China Meyers, and she's written a book called Letter to God. And this is an awesome book. I began reading it myself, and she tells about the different things that she's gone through in her life. And, that I'm seeing where it's awesome. And I see where God took me out of the four walls of the church so I can meet people who are actually, real life, people that God reached out to. And so these are the people that the Lord wants us to reach. He said he came before the lost house of Israel. Okay. So, people such as herself, such as you, such as myself. These are people that are real life people that we need to tell their story so that others can be saved. Now, today I'm going to do, another portion of the Levitical priesthood. What I was doing recently, I was doing the 10 plagues that led up to the Levitical priesthood. Because remember, the Levitical priesthood starts with Moses and Moses' brother, Aaron, who was chosen to be over the Levites. So now we see where our people were again in bondage. It started with Egyptian slavery, and Egyptians were Black people again, trying to bring you up to speed with who we are. And we saw the different plagues that our people went through. Last week, I read off to you the plague of blood, where the Lord had told Pharaoh to let us go. He wouldn't. So the waters were plagued with blood. After that, you had the plague of the frogs, which was number 2. The third plague was the plague of lice. The lice was all over the place. The plague of the flies, dead flies all over the place. The plague of the cattle. The cattle were infected. Yet Pharaoh was still very hard-headed. Remember that? We had the plague of the boils that were in the cattle and whatnot. The plague of hail falling from the sky. The plague of locusts. The locusts, were all over the place. Then we have the last 2 plagues, which is plague number 9, which is the plague of darkness. And that's going to be Exodus, the 10th chapter and the 21st verse. The Lord said to Moses, stretch out your hand toward heaven that there may be darkness over the land of Egypt, even darkness which may be felt. That's some kind of darkness when you can feel the darkness. Now, sometimes when you go down south, there are areas like that where it is so dark, where it just feels like you could feel it. It's so dark. So here we have, now they had the plague of darkness. So Moses stretched out his hand, so that there was darkness. And Moses, after he did that, the people couldn't even see one another. Neither rose any from their place for 3 days, but all the children of Israel had light in their dwellings. So all of these plagues that were being done to the Egyptians and not the Hebrews, because God was letting them know he is God. He is God of creation, and he is to be served, and not these idols that the Egyptians were serving. Moses said, thou must give us also sacrifice and burnt offering, that we may sacrifice unto the Lord our God. Because every time Moses would go to Pharaoh, Pharaoh would get scared when the plagues were coming, and then he would change his mind. But the Lord had told Moses and Aaron that from the beginning. I'm going to put all these plagues on Egypt, but they're not going to listen because they're very stubborn and hard-headed. So now Pharaoh called to Moses and said, go serve the Lord. Only let your flocks and your herds be stayed. Let your little ones go with you. So he's still being shady, right? So Moses said, thou must give us also sacrifice and burnt offerings, that we may sacrifice unto the Lord our God. Our cattle will go with us. They will not a hoof be left behind. For thereof we must take to serve the Lord our God, and we know not with what we must serve the Lord until we come thither. So Moses let Pharaoh know, you ain't in charge of this. We gonna go serve the Lord, okay? And we got to take everybody with us. It's not about you, buddy. We're going. But the Lord hardened Pharaoh's heart, that he would not let them go. Pharaoh said to him, get thee from me, take heed thyself, see my face no more. And for the day that you see my face, you'll die. So now he's threatening him. He's getting gangster, like, if I see you again, you're going to be dead. And Moses said, thou hast spoken well. I will see your face again no more. So Moses knew that God was about to really show up and show out, because now we're into this ninth plague, and this man is still playing games, right? And the Lord said to Moses, yet will I bring one more plague upon Pharaoh and upon Egypt. Afterwards, he will let you go hence. When he shall let you go, he will surely thrust you out hence altogether. Speak now in the ears of the people, and let every man borrow from his neighbor, and every woman of her neighbor, jewels of silver and jewels of gold. And the Lord gave the people favor in the sight of the Egyptians. Moreover, the man Moses was very great in the land of Egypt, in the sight of Pharaoh's servants, and in the sight of the people. And Moses said, thus saith the Lord, about midnight will I go out into the midst of Egypt, and all the firstborn in the land of Egypt shall die. So this is the last plague, is the death of the firstborn of who? The Egyptians. Only the Egyptians. So he said, all the firstborn in the land of Egypt shall die, from the firstborn of Pharaoh, meaning he ain't who he think he is. I'm going to show him who's God. He talking about he going to kill you? No, I'm going to touch him. So the Lord said, from the firstborn of Pharaoh, that sitteth upon whose throne? His throne. He made that throne up. Even unto the firstborn of the maid servant that is behind the mill, and all the firstborn of beasts. So the Lord was going throughout the land for the firstborn of Pharaoh, the firstborn of the Egyptian servants, and also the beasts. And there shall be a great cry throughout all the land of Egypt, such as there was none like it, nor shall be like it anymore. But against any of the children of Israel shall not a dog move his tongue against man or beast, that ye may know how that the Lord doth put a difference between Egyptians and Israel. See, so that goes to show you, not everybody over in Africa is the same. We're divided into different groups. There are different cultures over there in Africa. So it's not just everybody thrown into one bucket. No, people are there. The other Africans are Hamites, and then you have the group of Japheth, but we are the Shemites. You have the Hamites, the Shemites, and Japheth that came off the ark with Noah. Okay, so next week I'm going to continue that. But now we're going to go to our very special guest. Her name is China Myers, and her book is The Letter to God. Okay. And we are going to tell you a little bit here today about China. All right. She says here she is African American woman of the last of seven children born and raised in Brooklyn in New York. And I'm sorry, give me 1 second. I'm sorry, my the thing that I'm reading off of is kind of funny. Okay, so she was the last of seven children born and raised in Brooklyn, New York, and proud to be a mother of four. Her passion is writing words that can change the course of a lost soul. It brings her great joy to say she is an inspirational published author and public speaker with a clear message of hope. Her published works include several articles and seven series novelet book based on her own life. Okay. So her incredible gripping tale will have you on the edge of your seat, which I could testify to, and no doubt leave you wanting more. She has spoken to schools, churches, been on TV and radio shows, spreading the word and inspiration. She believes there are no victims, only survivors of what has happened to us. She also knows in her heart, with God's help and immeasurable event in our lives, with determination, things can be overcome. And the title of her book is A Letter to God. So we welcome to the show today none other than Miss China Myers.
Hello.
Welcome to the show, China.
Hey, that was a powerful thing you just taught. I'm telling you, people are going to learn so much from you.
I'm grateful. I'm grateful that God is using me in this day and time, because it is a critical day and time. We're going through so many things, and
Amen.
it's so sad that our people really think that our history started when we got off the slave ships in 1619. Many of our youth don't even know who they are.
Right.
When I go around to schools as well and educate them, a lot of them are looking at me like, Miss Jones, you think that we're going to college, or you think that they're so surprised that I even think of how great they are. And I look at these young people and say, do you know who you are? Do you know
Right.
where we come from? Do you know who our people are, who God made us? And I'm glad to meet somebody like you who's also spreading that message of hope. So China, talk to us. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I was born and raised in Brooklyn in an era where, soul music was hot.
Yes, I remember that.
Lincoln Continentals were, the groove.
Yes, they were.
Um, Illegal activity was how a lot of Black people made their living, you know.
Uh-huh.
But it was good stuff because people came to, from the South to New York, and they flourished. They got a different way of living. They were able to survive and make money and live a really good life. So I'm from that era where, people were still coming here from the South, and people were still making it. My grandmother owned a brothel, and she made liquor in her tub, and she ran numbers. And, she was an amazing, it sounds like she was crazy, but, she was an amazing woman, an entrepreneur, for
Right.
today, and she survived doing that all by herself, and that were the opportunities. Today, things are different. These kids have lots of opportunities. They can go to college, they can open up their own restaurant. They are not aware of how blessed they are with all the opportunities that they have that weren't there when I was growing up, and when my mother was growing up, and when my grandmother was growing up. Those opportunities weren't there. But if you have determination, you can make things happen. Because, like my mother, for example, she went to college in an era where Black women did not go to college. You know,
That's
that was
right.
not something that Black women did. And she got a degree in business, you know.
Yes.
So if you teach your children, you know, like I was telling you, sometimes we are not capable of teaching our children in a way where we're telling them. Sometimes we can show them the
True.
way.
Yes.
And, you know, we're like animals in the wilderness. They're not going to say, hey, catch that catch that deer so that you can eat. You
Yes.
know, we've got to show them this is what you do to survive. You do good things. You help people. You give back. You know, you teach your children. And this is all God's plan for us, because life is a lesson. I believe life is a
Yes.
lesson, and each thing we go through, you know, he also wants to see how we come out on the other side. You
Yes.
know, it's not, you know, about the mistake. It's about how you move forward and learn from that mistake, because life is a lesson. You
That's
know,
right.
and everything we go through, yeah, when we're going through it, it's horrible. Sometimes it's horrific. But I think God wants to see how we come out on the other side from it. You know, is it going to break you? Is it going to make you a better person or a worse person? The choice is ours, because God does give you free will.
Yes, he does.
You know, so he wants to see what you're going to do. You know, he wants to see how you're going to come out. He wants to see how you're going to be a better person, because that lesson should make you a better person.
That's true.
In heaven, you know, I don't know, but I don't think there's any perfect people. You know, and so we're going to make mistakes and we're going to fall, but we've got to get back up. We got to keep going. We have to show our children and our grandchildren that things will happen, but it shouldn't change us. It shouldn't make us bad people.
Yeah. No, that's so true. I agree with what you're saying. And I was just thinking today how sometimes people when they meet me and they find out, I'm a minister, I'm a pastor or whatever, they're surprised and say, "Why are you talking to me?" Like, they think that every if you're in ministry, that your life is perfect, or that anybody's life is perfect, or that I expect anybody's life to be perfect. I agree with you. We were placed in the families that we were in strategically. We were meant to go through those things. Why? Because our lives are not about ourselves, they're
Exactly.
about generations of people coming up behind us. So whatever we experience, we should be able to reach down to that next generation and say, this is what I went through and this is what happened. But I'm here to show you that there's a better way.
And it's not an opportunity to be a victim, because
Exactly.
victims are people who are going through it at the time. When you are done with that situation or that trial and tribulation, you are no longer a victim, you are a survivor. But that's your choice. You can hold on to that victimism, or you can move on to survivor. And I believe survivor is the better choice, because there's a reason why our feet are facing forward. We must go forward. Going
Yeah.
backward shouldn't be. It's not supposed to be. We're supposed to keep moving forward. You know, there's something in the Bible, and it says, it's a question. It's kind of a question. When you're learning catechism, this question is posed to you. What is man's chief destination? Or there's other ways you can put it. What is man's chief, or should be man's chief way of life? And it's to glory God. That's the answer. It's to glory God. So everything we do should be about God, you know. And if we have Him in our lives, it doesn't mean our lives will be perfect. It means that we'll see a different way, a
We
different
sure
path.
will. We sure will. I even put that to people, like, being that I deal with people who are incarcerated, they may feel like, well, they're more, I guess their lives, of some of them may feel like they're kind of gangster or something like that. But even that, that is meant to reach people who are like that.
Right.
Wherever you came from, whatever things you've been in, now you're able to turn back around and touch people's lives who are in that same situation. You
Right.
know what I'm saying? Because that personality of a gangster or whatever you want to call it, gangs, whatever, there's something in that personality that God can use.
Right.
Because
Exactly.
if you're gangster enough to form a gang, to form crimes, you're an entrepreneur. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
you really
Well,
are.
sometimes people will, read my story and they think I'm, a certain type of person. Well, don't assume who people are because you will be totally shocked, because I went through all that, but I had faith. I went through those things because to me, they were the best choices at the time.
Right.
But if I had a perfect life and it was a perfect world, I would have never chose those things because they were
Exactly.
against God, I felt, you know.
Hmm. Yeah, no, that's so true. But now someone who's maybe going through that or getting ready to go through that could read your book and say, hey, that's me.
Mhm.
I'm going through that, or I went through that, or wow, there is a way out.
Right.
I don't necessarily have to be in the same situation tomorrow, next year, whatever. This is just something I'm going through. But
Exactly.
we go through things for others. Many
Right.
times I find myself uh, comforting or helping women who have daughters who have been through the things that I've been through, and
Right.
I could, testify to them that, okay, I see what's going on. This is what your daughter's going through. Because I went through this. I
Right.
went through being a child of a broken home, and this is how I felt, or that's how I felt. And she's me. I could say
Right.
to a lot of women, your daughter is me. So I'm
Right.
telling you, she's
Look where
just
you
going,
are.
yeah. And I
Yeah.
tell them, she's just going through a phase. That's all.
Mhm.
She
Mhm.
just needs for you to be there for her, or whatever. we're
Right.
we're here to help one another, as we go through. But I want to focus on the beginning part of your book. That was intriguing, where you had the situation with, I think it was your cousin or your brother.
My brother. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Talk a little bit about that was pretty deep.
Well, you're talking about when we robbed the after hour club?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Well, I had been homeless for not a long time, a couple of weeks, like 3 weeks or so. And I went to live with, well, okay, let me back up. Not to give too much of the story away,
Right.
but my mom, okay, I was with my boyfriend. Let me go back a little further. I was with
Mhm.
my boyfriend and we were hanging out and I asked him to, could I go to the bathroom? And he said, go down the hall, 2 doors to the right. Okay, so he meant his right, not my right. So I went down the hall 2 doors to the left and opened up a door, and he had this ferocious dog. They called him Monster. This
Wow.
dog, this dog was so mean. And when I opened up the door where the dog was, he bit my arm. I mean,
Wow.
I was screaming, but they couldn't hear me because they were in the front of the house. And I
Ooh.
had to literally take my foot and push it on his face so that his tooth could get out of my bone in my wrist. And I was just so focused on, praying and, and finally I pushed him and he went back into that. I think it was the basement. I'm not even sure. And I closed the door and blood was everywhere. And I just ran out the house and I went home and my mother said, oh my God, what happened? Well, I was pregnant at the time, but I didn't want to tell her. She didn't know.
Okay.
And she said to me, oh my God, she said, what happened? And I told her that a dog, when I was walking home, bit me. I didn't want to tell her I was at my boyfriend's house, so I was, really afraid. So she took me to the hospital and they wanted to give me a tetanus shot. And I said, well, where's that going to go? And they said, in your belly. And I said, oh my God. So I had to tell her. And that was the first time she heard it, that I was pregnant. And the doctor said, well, I'm going to leave you guys alone. Well, my mother's face, if a face, could say 1,000 words, she was so disappointed in me, and
Mm.
I was her first child that had, I was her last child, but I was her first child that had, a baby out of wedlock, and sex before marriage and all these things. And she was just so disappointed. You could see it on her face.
Wow.
And when we got home, we argued, and I fell down the steps, and she put me out. She said, don't ever come back. And so I was there living on the street. And I called my one sister, and I lived with her for a little bit, and she had some rules that she wanted me to follow. And one of the rules was not to bring any boys over. Well, I had a boyfriend.
Right.
So I snuck him in, and, a little bit of that is in the book. And so I snuck him in, and she put me out. And there I was living on the street again. And I called my other sister, and I lived with her for a couple of weeks, and her husband was kind of funny. So he kind of said, either her or me. So I ended up on the street again. And then, all these siblings were a lot older than me, because my mother had my sister and my older sister, 3 years older than me. And there was a 15-year gap between the next siblings. So my brother was a lot older, and I called him up, and I didn't really even know him that well. Like, I seen him a couple times, but he was already out of the house. So I called him up and asked him, if I could come and talk to him. And he said, sure, and I went there, and I asked him, I had told him I hadn't, what happened with mama and everything. And he said, you could stay here. I'll give you a job. And I said, okay, but I did not know the job that that I was going to get. I thought I was going to be making hamburgers or something, So my first job was, we were going to rob an after-hour club, and I had to, be the lookout and, get the money from the girl behind the counter and everything. And so, yeah, it was crazy. Yeah.
Wow. That's quite a bit. But that's
Yeah.
it's a testimony. It
Yeah.
really, really is. And then people have to examine themselves through all of it. Because what you were saying about your mother and stuff like that, that was something I learned after being raised in the church and whatnot, was that church people are so unbalanced.
Yeah.
It's like, why would you throw your child out,
I know. I
or
know.
even think that your child is not up to your expectations?
Right.
Because none of us are up to God's expectations, truly.
Exactly. Yeah.
We're not.
But in her defense, because I'm a mother now, I think I don't think she thought I would leave.
Right.
That's number one. Number two, I think she was really angry, and I think maybe she thought I would come back,
Okay.
after the situation had cooled off. But I've always been a strong-willed person, and
Hmm.
a believer in God, and so I knew that God would help me no matter what I did. So when I stepped my foot out that door, I, in retrospect, shouldn't have. you know,
Right.
I really shouldn't have. But she was a black mother, and they were tough, and black mothers are tough. And I think she thought that, I would walk around the block a couple times and come back. But to her
Right.
surprise, I never did.
Right.
So, to her, defense, I think that was the case, and
Hmm.
it's the thing about that generation,
I know, that's exactly,
you
that's what
know.
I see, is that that generation didn't have that balance. They weren't being
No,
realistic about so many different things. And I mean, I'm not, saying that
I agree.
to, yeah, and we've all had our faults and things like that. But
Right.
I began to see that God began to show me that how unbalanced we were as a people.
Oh,
Um,
definitely.
and definitely within the churches, that we were living in fantasy land. We
I
were
mean, the
living.
first mistake was she should have taught me about sex, because in all actuality, I didn't know that if that happened, I would have a baby. You know
Okay,
what I mean?
wow, yeah,
So that wasn't there,
that's
and
true.
that was another thing, but
Mm,
life is a lesson.
right. Well, see, that was the thing. See, these are generational things that have followed us. And I'm
Exactly.
not blaming it on anybody in particular. It's just that generationally speaking, our people have been so out of touch with reality that
Yes.
it's just ridiculous. And
Yeah.
then, even like now, what you're saying about us being, uh, you know, you're either going to be a victim or a victor.
Right.
So we have our people who are like, well, they feel like they should, and I'm not saying just our people, so to speak, but since we're always in the limelight as being people who are in jail or
Yeah.
make the wrong decisions and that type of thing, that comes from generations of unbalance from the
Right.
time that we even arrived here.
But we've
First
got
of
to
all,
break the cycle. We've got to
we've
break the
got
cycle
to we have
with
to
our
break that
children.
cycle.
I taught my children, hey, let's get some birth control, let's be obstinate, whatever you want to do, but to teach them about what can happen. Their lives are so important and they have so much to live for and so much, going for them, that a baby would just ruin that, and not saying babies aren't great,
Right, but you don't need one right now.
Exactly.
At
And that's what I taught my children. So I tried to break the cycle.
hmm that's good too. I do find a lot of our people are going back to abstinence. They're teaching their children that you don't necessarily have to be sexually active. I mean, come on, you're
No,
14, 15 years old. Really, you don't need to be attaching yourself sexually to
exactly.
nobody, because
Exactly.
you just got out of really learning your ABCs. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you don't have to be a part of the crew that calls themselves the in crew or anything like that, because that's an adult decision
Right.
that's when you become an adult, something that you have to make as a matured adult to
Right.
make that decision, because sex is just that, it's just sex. You don't
Right.
have to be involved in just sex. You
Well,
can.
my problem was I was always looking for love. But
Right.
then as I got older, I realized that first I have to love myself. I can't love other people if I don't love and respect myself. So that was the problem. The more I tried to look for love, I was disrespecting myself. So, like I said, this sounds a little crazy, but God taught me that.
Oh yeah.
I had to learn that He gave His Son for me and my
Hmm.
sins. So
Hmm.
it's time for me to get my act together and do what I'm supposed to do because He did what He was supposed to do.
Right. And that the thing that is easiest about that is, if you think about the laws and commandments of the Lord, they're made to make our life simple. We make it hard, because
Exactly.
all you have to do to really fulfill everything is love God above all else, because He is your creator. He knows what's best for you. He
Yes.
lays out different things before you. But if you love Him above all else, you will love yourself,
Yes.
because
Yeah.
you are the
I agree.
greatest. You're the greatest creation, that He made us in His own image.
Image.
So
Yeah.
we're made like Him.
Hmm.
Okay. So if you love God above all else, you're going to love yourself, and you're going to love your neighbor as yourself. So
Yes. Definitely.
through that, you will fulfill everything else, because the greatest gift of all is love. And if we have that love first for our creator, we'll have it for ourselves and for others around us. So everything else will be fulfilled. And that love of that law of love, just knowing that love, because God will give us the directions, as we go along, whatever our calling is, whatever he's called us to. You've been called as, you're an author. You're going to reach people in the arena that you grew up in. Although to you it seemed tough, it seemed rough, and it was.
Yeah.
But you're going to be able to reach people that I would never be able to reach,
Well,
because
I hope.
that's
Yeah.
right, because that's not my testimony, but it's something that I can get from you through your testimony, because we help each other
Exactly.
through the things that we've been through. So I understand what you're saying with loving yourself, because that's something I had to do with myself, with self-examination. Like, why was I picking the wrong men at one point? Why? Because I was not loving myself.
Exactly.
So when you get in touch with that and realize that, no, you don't have to just date any old kind of man just because, because people say, oh, you're so hard. You don't, you come on, just give this person a chance. And you could clearly see that you and that person don't click or
Right.
anything like that. But people are
Right.
trying to throw somebody on you.
You should have an expectation,
You should. You
Mm-hmm.
definitely should. And like you said, by God teaching teaching you things. There's some things that you are only going to learn through the Lord teaching you different things, going through different things. And sometimes you have to say to yourself, you know what, I'm in a season where I just need to sit back and learn. So I don't need to date anybody. I just need to learn who I am. What
Amen.
things, what I like, what I don't like, what's going to work for me, what's not going to work for me. What is the Most High pleased with? What's he not pleased with? And you have to be okay with that. You can't.
Can I tell you something? I
Uh,
always knew that. That's why I went through a lot of relationships.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you say that again.
I said I always knew what I wanted in a man. That's why I went through a lot of relationships, because, I think some guys, they'll pretend to be a certain way. And then when you find out they're not that way, it's time to hit the bricks. Some people, they'll stay with a man for 20 years. He's beating them and, spending the money. And, it's like, why did you do that? That's not what God wants for you. God wants you to be happy, and to have joy. My husband now, he said, happiness is fleeting, and I'm quoting him. God wants you to have joy. Joy is different.
Yes, it definitely is different. And definitely you have to. Sometimes it takes time, because if you're broken yourself, even
Yeah.
though you may know what you want, sometimes you have to
Right.
work on you, because
Exactly.
you can get what you want and destroy it if
Right.
you're not ready for it. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So I myself had to be honest with myself and say, listen, sit down a while and learn and get yourself together,
Right.
so that when that person comes along, when the time is right, you're ready.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes we have to be honest with ourselves, because as much as
Definitely.
we don't tend to think we're broken,
Yeah.
sometimes we really, really are.
Oh my goodness.
And you're more than likely going to follow some of the things that the people before you, your ancestors, your family members,
Yeah.
sometimes you're going to find yourself making those same mistakes, because that's all you saw is
Yeah.
what they do. And if that's
Exactly.
if that's all you saw, you're going to tend to repeat it and not even realize that
That's
you're
true.
doing the same thing over again. So sometimes you have to sit back and reflect on you and watch yourself and your motives, your ambitions, and all of that kind of stuff, and ask God to help you to put those things in check, so that,
Yeah.
like you said, yes, the Lord wants us to be happy. He wants us to enjoy life. He made everything before he made us. Within
Yes.
those 6 days, he made everything before us: the sun, the moon, the stars, the angelic beings, everything. So all things were made for us.
Yeah.
So definitely he wanted us to be happy. But if we see how the Bible plays out, a lot of times our people, our ancestors, were for some reason dissatisfied,
Yeah.
because when I look at even the story of the garden, I'm like, wow, Adam had all of that and still he and Eve weren't
I
satisfied.
know. I know.
I'm like,
They're just
man,
greedy people.
I'm like, man, with what's going on now, I wish
Yeah.
I could have been in that garden to eat it,
How
man.
about it?
Please.
Yeah.
But
It's a crazy
these,
world.
huh?
It's a crazy world now.
It very crazy. And this
Yeah.
was never what he meant for it to be for us, because in the beginning, we were supposed to have eternal life. So you wonder why, like, why did they eat of the tree of good and evil as opposed to eating the tree of life?
I don't know.
You know? So it's like we got to check ourselves, because a lot of times seems like our people tended to gravitate towards things that weren't right for us.
Well,
You
I
know?
don't know about you, but I'm constantly checking myself because guess
Yes.
what? You That's how you keep, on the rails because, sometime, I have to tell myself, don't be so quick to anger, forgive, constantly telling myself, these things because we are full of sin, and we just can't help that nature. But we have to remember what God wants, what God gave us, constantly. Every day I try to do it, I'll be going in one direction. I'll say, you know what, that's not right. And I'll turn around and go in another direction. I'm talking, speaking, conversation, whatever, constantly checking myself. And I think that's what we all should do, and if we learn to do that, we
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't be, the world wouldn't be the way it is today. I
That's
truly believe that.
it's so true, and it's something that you're saying just now is in connection with our family has a family prayer every week, right?
Hmm.
On Monday nights, we all get together. We do a phone prayer, and my cousin this week, she, uh, wow, she came with a message that how we need to check ourselves. Like, what are you watching on TV? What are the things that you're connected with? Because those things cause you to sometimes, like you said, have thoughts or things like that that are against what the will of the Lord is for your life. So
Yeah.
you have to constantly check yourself. Am I watching shows that are just so sex related, or
Right.
so about people fighting, or what is going on with me that I'm watching these shows?
Hmm.
Because that type of stuff can get in your psyche
Oh, definitely.
and cause you to be unbalanced. So yes, definitely I'm consistently checking myself, because sometimes I know I say, oh Lord,
Hmm.
why am I thinking like that? I'm sorry for thinking that. I shouldn't have been thinking that. You know,
Right.
I have to move on, from that, because it's not healthy for me or the people that are around me. And I know that I'm being entrusted by the Lord to bring people to the Lord, because
Right.
sometimes people can just see your life and say, you know what, I'm gonna change my ways. I'm gonna get it together, because if she could do it, God can help me too.
Right.
And sometimes it's people that you don't even know are watching you. You know,
Exactly.
I've had
You got to
people.
stay in the light. You have to stay in
You
the light.
have
And if
to.
you are the light for the world, we all could be the light, for the world. And if we are the light for the world, darkness could see to get through.
Yes, yes, yes. But listen, I want you to tell people where they could reach you. How can people get in touch with you? All of that. Let people know. Uh,
I'm on LinkedIn. That's the only social media I'm on. It's China, China, just China. It's on LinkedIn. And my email is Chris, ChrystMK, at gmail.com. And, if they have any questions about my book, they could just shoot me an email, not a problem, or message me on LinkedIn. Yeah.
okay. They can.
They
You
can
can.
find
They.
my book on
Mhm.
Amazon, Barnes
Yeah.
and Nobles. It is a letter to God, and it is a 7 series. And only volume 1 is out yet.
Oh,
I'm working on volume 2 now. And yeah, they have it at Amazon in ebook, but they
yes.
also have it in paperback because some people like to hold a book. you know.
Right. Yes.
So holding a book is, old school, but it's good too.
Yes, yes, definitely. Also, I'm going to put it up on my pages. I'll put it up on my Facebook page, the Crystal Jones Show, so that people can see that they can, go. I got the book from Kindle, so
Okay.
I've been reading it, and it's so far. I know that that book is so good. I'm going to tell my friend that does that the book club, the banquets and stuff like that, because she would love to meet you.
Wow.
And
Okay. I'd love to
I
meet her
know
too.
you. Yeah, it would be a great thing. But I'll be putting up on like I said, my Facebook page. Also, this particular show, all of my shows will be on my YouTube channel. They should be it should be up by either tonight or tomorrow.
Awesome.
So people will be able to see it and share it with all, that you can. You'll have a copy yourself. That's the thing with people. I'm telling people to sign up for my channel, because you will get to see things right as they're being produced. They'll be
Awesome.
put out right away, so that you can share with others, that type of thing. And
Great.
we look forward to your other you know series
Oh, it's something else.
that are going to be coming out, because that first one, being that I started reading, I was like, wow, this here is awesome.
Yeah.
So and also don't forget to come back on the show, because
Oh,
as you
definitely.
write and do things, we always want to stay in touch with you. Most of my guests, they come back and tell what they're doing now. If you're doing the book, but you're doing something else with the book, people
Yeah.
like to see you again and hear from you and know you know exactly what you're doing. Also, sometimes I do Facebook things with people, so we can do things on there as well. Instagram, that type of thing. But we want you to keep in touch with us, so that we
Definitely.
can let people know who you are, what you're doing and things like that. Sometimes people want to invite you to their events and things like that, to talk to sometimes so many arenas open up that
Yeah.
you're like, wow, okay.
Mm-hmm.
You may find yourself overseas, or doing many things. As eventually I would like to do something overseas, if it's God's willing, because it's time now that our people are linking back up together. As Ghana is asking us to come back home, start you know getting in touch with our people from the land, that
Yeah.
continent of Africa.
Right.
So I'm looking forward to that, to going back home, to spread the word to our people over there, Ghana, Nigeria. Many people know I traced my roots, so I
Where'd you
know
trace them
that.
to?
I, huh?
Where did you trace them to?
I
Where were
traced
you
mine
from?
back to on my mother's side of the family, back to Nigeria. She was Igbo, so she was one of the original Hebrews. They're from
Wow.
Jerusalem.
Wow.
So I would like to follow up on that too, because remember, at the Roman and Jewish wars, when our people lost the war, they migrated to different areas in Africa. So my people, the Igbos, they ran to Nigeria. They escaped there, but they still called them the Kingdom of Judah and all of that. Wherever we went, all over the earth, like Deuteronomy 28 tells us, we were scattered all over the earth. So we look different now. We have people that are
Yeah.
of the 12 tribes, the Filipinos, the Hawaiians, the African Americans, the
American Indians.
American Indians, the
Yeah.
Dominicans,
Mm-hmm.
the Haitians, the West Indians.
Mm-hmm.
We all look different now, but we're from the 12 tribes of Israel. So
Mm-hmm.
I want to get back home and start linking back up with our people. We even have people that are doing videos online in the Middle East, telling us, come back home, y'all. We need you here. Come on back. We want y'all to come back and fellowship with us and everything.
Wow.
So I'm looking forward to work that needs to be done with our people as well, in the continent of Africa. So stay in touch with us. But thank you for coming on the show and being a guest.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, you're welcome. And you're
It was
always
a great
welcome.
time.
Yes, you're always welcome to come back and spend time with us. Like I said, always let us know what you're doing. And you're welcome, to come on the show and share with us. So I just want to thank everybody for tuning in today to the show, the Crystal Jones Show. We're so glad to have you all, coming in and being a part of the show. Like I said, weekly, we have new episodes every week now. We're a weekly show. Hopefully, eventually, we'll get back to doing live. I miss doing live, but I'm hoping that we'll be able to do that again. Until then, I just want to say God bless you. God keep you is my prayer. Thank you for tuning in to the Crystal Jones Show. We love you. Stay in the word and stay in faith and find out what God is doing in this season, because Israel, we will soon go home. We will soon go home. I don't know if it's going to be in our day and time, but it looks like it from the way things are going. It really looks like it. So God bless you. God keep you is my prayer. And you stay balanced.
Did you see that? Whoa, we scored? Yeah, we scored. We're going to the playoffs.
This is the story of a boy who didn't talk for a long time. The boy liked things to always be the same. Any changes would scare and upset him. The unknown was an unfriendly place. The boy was very sensitive to lights and sounds. So he built secret hiding places where they couldn't get in. The boy didn't like looking people in the eye. He wasn't trying to be mean, it just made him feel uncomfortable. Sometimes he would flap his arms again and again.
One day, I found out I had something called autism. My family got me help. Slowly, I found my voice and learned all the ways I could live with it better.
Early intervention can make a lifetime of difference. Learn the signs at autismspeaks.org.
Stop using church intimidation, control and manipulation. Jezebel and all them spirits fall back, not trying to hear it. Go with Jesus, walk in peace. On your pew can sit that beast that we're fighting in the world. I'm that JC Supergirl, Jesus Christ, belt of truth, arm of God, I'm slaying you. Power of the word, two-edged sword. MC Heaven rocks for her Lord. Thought they crept in unaware.